Oh boy, it's streaming time, and well, I don't know. I haven't done streaming in a while, so eh, eh, eh. So, sorry for this. I'm just checking, making sure everything goes swimmingly, essentially, making sure everything works to how I want it. So, let's get started, shall we? Blood Bond by Mr. Or it's by I can't read, and it's a fan fiction reading. Okay, by Terminal Nostalgia. Terminal Nostalgia. I will be taking breaks in between to look at chat, so if you want a full reading, I'm sorry. Rated teen, supernatural angst, sniper, spy, medic, chapter 34. I got a bit with this thing. We're planning on doing the first 5 or so of the chapters. That way it makes it a bit easier on me, essentially. So, it's Halloween and Tiny Freaking Head and I are back. This time, start with a supernatural spin. Okay, just checking things. I can continue. Sniper woke up with a sense of ease prickling at the back of his mind. Groggily he sat up, rubbing his eyes and trying to follow the emotions back to its source. Ah yes, the new blue spy was due to join the fight today. Sniper had no idea what he was going to be facing out there today. The blue who had retired was a sour-faced old Spaniard who'd hardly say a word to him, and all the times they fought each other. Red team had a bet going on, saying that they thought the new blue would be from. Sniper swung his bet on him being a Frenchman to match their own. Scout had laughed at that, saying that there's no way something as unlikely as that would happen, and then had gone and put his bet on the spy being English. You know, like James Bond, he explained. Sniper threw his sheets off the bed and sat up. He yawned, showing off a flash of sharp teeth to no one in particular, and stretched until his spine made some satisfying yet worryingly loud cracking sounds. When he'd finished, he'd let himself slouch forward, eyes drifting towards the mini-fridge he sat in his van. Everyone knew Sniper's van was out of bounds. They thought it was because he liked his privacy, which he certainly did, but really it was because of that fridge. All it would take would be for one of his teammates to open it, and it would be all over. He has his escape plan ready, of course. A good assassin was prepared for any eventuality, but he hoped it would never have to come to that. New spy today. New blue spy today. That raised many questions, but for Sniper, one stood out from the rest. How human do I want to be today? Maybe want wasn't actually the right question. How human do I need to be today might be more suitable. Sniper pulled himself off his bed with a grunt, the thin mattress creaking as he moved. He knelt down in front of the mini-fridge and tugged the door open to inspect the contents like he did every single day. Three full blood bags. Type O. One about half empty. Type AB. 2 sealed containers of deer blood. Fresh. 1 small, nearly finished cup of rabbit blood. Not so fresh. A reasonable supply. Enough to last him until he could fudge the records on Medic's next order and get more human blood for himself. Sniper reached for the rabbit blood with a grimace. He paused. New spy today. His fingers drifted towards the opened blood bag. He wasn't supposed to be allowing himself any more human blood until Wednesday. Sniper pulled out the blood bag out of the fridge. New blue spy today. He allowed himself just a little. Sniper turned up to the battle 5 minutes early as usual, clutching a thermos flask of coffee, also as usual. It was battered and slightly rusty, perhaps not the cleanest looking thing. Sniper needed to keep it the way it is, though. He couldn't afford one of his teammates deciding to steal some coffee. He had no idea if humans could taste the blood lacing it as clearly as he could. but he didn't want to find out. "Oh, come on, you can't tell me you're cold," Demoman said as he wandered into the room, catching sight of Sniper's fingers wrapped tightly around a hot thermos. Sniper said nothing. Demoman and Spy kicked up a fuss every time he mentioned he felt cold. These days, Sniper tried to avoid bringing it up in the case because he got more cries of, "But we're fighting in a desert. You can't possibly be cold." There was only so many times he could lie and say that Australians was just so much hotter than New Mexico left him being chilled. In reality, his semi-permanently cold hands and feet were down to something else entirely, but not something he could bring up with his dear medic. "I'm going to be the first bat that New Blue heads in." I can't talk. Scott assured them when he arrived. In 1 and 2s, the rest of the team turned up, with Pyro and Engineer cutting in close. They talked amongst themselves about the New Blue as they waited for their match to begin, discussing theories and making last-minute bets. Sniper took a hasty sip of his thermos as the administrator counted. Our countdown boomed over the Tannoy system. Warmth flooded through him, leaving his mind awake and alert. New Blue Spy today. Best to be prepared for anything, or anyone. Administrator's voice sounded across the loudspeaker. "Mission begins in 60 seconds. The New Blue Spy took a breath and took stock of himself and the men around him. So far, they were what he expected. Some of them battle-crazed lunatics, others were cool professional. He was, of course, in the second category, along with the Sniper, the Engineer, and the Heavy. Though, to be fair, he hadn't seen anyone in battle yet, his opinion might be different after today. He could barely believe Scout was there, being so young and brash. It seemed like he was a child. The Pyro set him on edge, that mumbling monster with black, shiny eyes, like a giant insect. The Soldier and Demoman brand of enthusiasm didn't faze him, though. Going into a battle drunk seems like a terrible idea. Then what really set him on edge, besides the Pyro, was the medic. Firstly, his workplace was an unsanitary mess of pigeons and bird shit. And secondly, the man had no qualms with removing his heart while he was awake. It was an unsettling day, to say the least. Mission begins in 30 seconds. He was excited for the new work. The place was new and different. Men were basically immortal. He could experience death or what passed for death here. He would put all of his skills to use here. Get to play with the newest technology, kill enemies. The suit, the balaclava, were uncomfortable for him now, but he would adjust, same as he would adjust to the disguising as other men. Mission begins in 10 seconds. Regrettably, he dropped his cigarette on the ground and crushed it with his heel. That red glow was practically begging a Sniper to blow his head off. His hands brushed quickly over things. 5. Revolver. 4. Balisong. 3. Sapper. 2. Disguise kit. 1. The door opened, and his teammates dashed through. He followed at a more leisurely pace, watching the corners and listening hard. Time to prove himself. Strap yourself in, guys. We're in for a long haul. The series is gonna be a long one. So that's chapter 1. I'm gonna check chat, and it seems to be empty. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So we're gonna move on to chapter 2, but I'm going to check something real quick. So let me turn off my display capture while I just generally check stuff. Okay, everything is checked and accounted for, so we're going to continue. Display capture. Let's go back to my Chrome, open up this, and we're ready. I'm ready, you're ready. Chapter 2. The response of AO3 were so nice we decided to upload another chapter early because we're just cool like that, or easily bribed. So again, made by Internal Nostalgia, and I didn't say it, but the Red Sniper has a secret. One he'll hope it lengths to keep. The Blue Spy determined to find it out no matter what. But some secrets can alter the course of a life. So let's begin, shall we? The Red's uniform came into view soon enough, and the Spy immediately focused in on their medic, a good target, busy following the Heavy. He cut through a building and slipped out a window as soon as they passed. falling in step behind them and forcing the knife between Meg's shoulder blades. With a short cry, he fell. Spy cloaked to avoid attracting attention, watching for a moment until the man's body disappeared. It was queer to watch, but interesting. He was relieved to see it, even though he trusted that respawn was a real thing here. It helped to see it with his own eyes. The heavy turned to him, gun spinning. Spy flattened himself to the wall, doing his best to stay silent. There. Sniper frantically scanned the area, down the side of his rifle. He'd seen the blue spy. He'd seen him. If you wanted to find an enemy spy, the best thing to do is to stick around in one place enough for him to pay you a visit, or to watch your teammates. Any teammate heading the wrong way could be a spy. Any teammate glancing behind themselves might have heard a spy. Any teammate falling dead from a stab to the back had definitely been the victim of a spy. He cloaked again, though. The sneaky little bugger. The uncloak, stab, recloak. He had all been very quick and smooth. Too quick and smooth for Sniper to catch him. That was bad news. Either the spy was a natural, or he experienced at another base, or maybe he'd got lucky. Sniper scanned the ground, looking for any signs of movement, in case the spy had stuck around. There, a tuft of dry grass pressed to the ground by an invisible foot. The spy was flattened himself against the wall, while a suspicious heavy scanned the area carefully. Minigun at the ready. Sniper didn't know how tall the spy was. He didn't even know which foot that was. He couldn't risk trying for a headshot and missing the new spy altogether. Knowing it was a dirty, unprofessional thing to do, Sniper shot at the spy's foot. First there was a feeling of impact, then heat, then Spy was screaming. His cloak fell as he was shot and he crumpled down to the ground. Hitting his side, he had been shot in the foot. The foot! It hadn't been heavy. Where'd it come from? There was a small red dot on the ground near him, and he focused on it with his shot. The sniper. How had he been picked off when he was invisible? Why had he been shot in the foot? Was it just an accident? Pathetically, Spy scrambled away from the angry heavy, but it was too late. The minigun started again, and soon enough, he was torn into by bullet after bullet as the giant man roared. It was over mercifully fast, and he felt sickening. Feeling his stomach. I'm sorry. As though he was in a lurching elevator. Everything rushed past him, and he was on his knees in the respawn room, blinked by the white tile of the room, his hands slowly coming into focus in front of his face. Groaning, he stood, holding his stomach. He felt more uncomfortable than anything. The pain was nearly forgotten, as though his mind had just locked it away, that he wasn't feeling it. He tentatively put weight on his foot and found himself whole. No pain, no tingling, no numbness. Gritting his teeth, Spy headed back to the field. He knew his next target should be. I didn't read that right. And headed towards where he'd been shot. To look for a vantage point for Sniper's fire. It couldn't take him long to find out where the Sniper was hiding. Well, that'd been unprofessional. Sniper took a large swig of his laced coffee and grabbed up his things. Time to move. Definitely time to move. The new Spy was going to be pissed, and Sniper couldn't blame him. That scream. Sniper flinched at that. The way Spy had just flat out crumpled to the ground would have been funny if it wasn't for that scream, pathetically trying to scramble away from a grinning heavy too. Though maybe the flash of fear and Sniper saw in the man would have been enough to sober him then. This was the new guy after all. Sniper hadn't been backstabbed by him enough times to hate him yet. Thermos, rifle, kukri, backpack, all accounted for. Sniper headed for the next building over, hoping that the spy's inexperience meant it would take a while for him to track Sniper down. The man had looked straight up at his nest after he shot. After all, he would know who had taken it, and if they'd met before. Once he'd set up in a new location, Sniper reached automatically for his flask and paused. Thank you, Steam. Bugger off, please. Bugger off. You're interrupting me. Okay. Back to this. Okay, where was I? Okay, one step in his new location, Sniper reached automatically for his flask and paused. How human do I want to be right now? Not very. He wanted to know straight away if that spy was sneaking up on him. How human did he need to be? Good question. If he reached earlier than should be humanly possible, the spy might be suspicious. Save if he moved or healed too fast. The first could be fake, the second two he couldn't. One more sip, just to boost his awareness, for a little while. Just one more sip. It took Spy some time to get up the sniper's nest he spotted. There was no sign of the man by the time he got there. He cursed internally. If he'd been thinking perhaps he would have brought some wire, he could have laid a simple trap for the sniper. Even a non-fatal one would be satisfying. Once he was back down on the battlefield, he took some time to stab a nearby scout with some relish. The boy was loud and boisterous, easy to follow. Where would a sniper go next? Spy looked up to the vantage point around them and took a likely guess, making his way up to the old, worn building, taking care not to let the floorboards creak underneath his shoes. He felt along the wall, feeling for vibrations, for anyone moving. It wasn't very helpful. However, with rockets and bombs going off not far away, I worded that weird. As hard as he could focus on the listening, he couldn't hear anything from up above. That didn't mean Sniper wasn't up there. Sniper's problem, well, of them anyways, was the once he got focused down the scope of his rifle, the best of the world had a habit of slipping out of sight and out of mind, forgetting that he was trying to keep himself hidden from the new spy, and the rest of Blue too. Sniper started muttering to himself without even realizing what he was doing. Come on, you little bastard. Stick your head back out just one more time. Great place for a sentry, egghead. Just where I'd put it, if I knew there was an enemy sniper on the enemy team. Now where are you, little newbie? Where are you? For a little while at least the thermos stood, forgotten next to his left foot. There was a soft voice above and a few shots rang out. Definitely the one from the room above. With a smirk, the spy slipped up the last of the stairs and hesitated in the doorway. There was a sniper. He was long and lean, wearing a slouch hat and muttering to himself as he looked at the scope. There was a backpack and a thermos of coffee on the floor next to him, as well as a very large knife, more like a machete than anything. Clearly, he was comfortable fighting in fairly close quarters. Curiosity and pride got the best of Spy. He briefly considered using his revolver safely from the doorway, but he wanted to make an impression. It was his first day after all, and the man had shot him through the foot, memory of which was strangely distant, but still irked him. He walked closer, keeping his weight on the outside of each foot as he did. The ball song flickered silently over his gloved hand. Just gotta. Sniper muttered, trailed off as he heard a whispered, quiet sound of someone lithe and light-footed padding towards him. Just gotta walk for him. I'm stick his head back out again. They continued, not wanting to give away yet that he'd heard. Never mind, next time. Sniper opened his mouth to draw in the scent, wanting to gather as much information about the man as he could without turning around. He blinked, a frown crossing his face as he stared down the scope without really seeing anything. Sniper breathed in deeply again. Damn. It sounded creepy even in his own head, but this new spy smelt very appealing. It happened every now and then. You'd walk along minding your own business until out of nowhere, a random person caught your attention. Sniper, still mortified whenever he thought about the woman hit him around the face with her handbag for creeping on her daughter. He couldn't blame the woman. Her daughter couldn't even be more than 14, and he was staring at her, breathing heavily to draw in her scent. It wasn't about physical attractiveness. It wasn't about lust. It wasn't about hunger levels. It wasn't even about blood type, as far as he knew. Just sometimes you bumped into someone who really made your mouth water. Sniper swallowed, already a pressure building up. below the hinges of his jaw. As his body began to produce venom in response to the stimuli, he swallowed again, willing it to stop. But it wasn't a reaction he could control. His fangs could come through. Hopefully. Or his fangs. He could, though. Hopefully. Without even meaning to, he opened his mouth and breathed. Then again, cigarette smoke. Not a brand he recognized. Something of it smoother and spicier than he could identify. Not too recent. Not stale either, though. Deodorant. The alcohol and aluminum in it, standing out more than any added fragrance. Sweat. Not the sharp smell of old sweat that all humans could pick up on. Sugars and salts and other scents unique to each individual. Cologne. Not too overpowering. He wouldn't want it to be. Not when he had to be able to sneak up on people. A rich, vibrant scent that put his mind into a fine whiskey mixed with something pleasantly sharper, just with a hint of musk. Leather shoes. Highly polished. Kid leather gloves. Soap. Shampoo. A hint of mint. A tang of polished, sharpened metal. None of that explained why the strange spice scent transfixed him, or why he still hadn't moved yet, even though the man was just 2 paces away from him. Spy snuffed into Sniper's mind to give him less of a target if he struck back. The blade of his knife aimed to the side of the man's neck. The Sniper snapped to attention as he heard a soft susurrus. I don't know what that is. Of fabric on fabric, and slight creak of leather. He didn't manage to move out of the way either entirely, the blade slicing through the muscle of the back of his neck. If he reached just a split second later, the knife would have been caught in a spy. Shit, the pain of spy scent threw him off entirely, leaving his brain scrambled to come up with a plan. He pushed himself forward into the window. It was as far as he could get away without defenstrating himself. Sniper swung around to face his new enemy, one hand clapped against the back of his neck, the other reaching for his kukri. He was faster than his normal at least, but would it be enough? Oh boy, I got a bit. Yeah. My throat is getting hoarse already. Oh boy. How long have I been at this? About 20 minutes. I'd say that's not that bad. Let me check comments. Look, excuse, it's not empty now. There's emojis. Thank you. It really hurts. I really should get something. I'm gonna get something to drink real quick, and then I'm going to continue this. So I'll be right back. I need something to drink. My throat's getting really parched, so I'm gonna just mute myself and then. Alright, sorry for that. I had to. Just a second of my time. My apologies. So now back to the reading. Okay, let me see where I was. Okay. Think I got it. He moved, gritted his teeth. The spy tried to keep right beside his target. The great big knife was alright for close combat, but not as close as Spy was. Little butterfly knife could easily slip through anyone's ribs, while Spy was pressed against them. Whereas the kukri would have to be stabbed almost towards the sniper's body if he wanted to hit his target. Spy stepped right into the sniper's face, where he was pressed against the window, the knife changing position in his hand automatically as he stabbed upwards, under the man's ribs. Oof! The sniper's whole body jolted. It felt as though someone had punched all the air out of his lungs. He was stabbed enough times to recognize the difference, though. He expected to turn around to find Spy a pace or two behind him, probably already backing up. He was the new guy after all. He should be uncertain, wary, timid even. Instead, Sniper found himself face to face with the new Spy right up close to him. He didn't have time to finish drawing his kukri, and even if he had, he wouldn't have had room to use it. His other hand slipped away from his neck, numbly as he found himself staring at the new blue Spy. He was younger than the last one, his brown eyes narrowed in concentration. Sniper knew he should be fighting back, should be doing anything to lash out before he died. Spitting and snarling and sneering and insulting, but the blue Spy was so close, so very close. He couldn't stop staring. Couldn't stop himself from breathing in Spy's scent. He was so close. Spy twisted the knife, pressed in so hard against Sniper that he could force into one of the remaining panes of glass. The window creaked behind him. He didn't dare step back yet. Sniper was in shock and he couldn't. My apologies. Okay. The Spy twisted his knife, pressing so hard against Sniper he was forced into the one remaining pane of glass. The glass creaked behind him. He didn't dare step back again. Yet the Sniper was in shock, but he could still be very dangerous, especially if a man grown used to dying and fighting through it. This close, Spy gave him a good look over. The Sniper was tall, just a few inches above Spy. He looked odd. His expression was strange. It made the Spy feel uncomfortable. And it was not his first time being so close to a dying man, as he had never once seen an expression like this. Still, he kept his knife pressed in as deep as he could, his other hand grabbing at Sniper's wrist to expose the large blade. It didn't come into play. A quiet groan escaped Sniper's mouth as the knife twisted into his ribs. It hurt. Hurt horribly. He knew that, yet somehow felt disconnected from the pain. He couldn't bring himself to move, to think, to react in any way. He just kept staring at the new Spy. Close, so close. It was only when the Spy grabbed a hold of his wrist he reacted, eyes widening at the contact, even the gloves he felt, as though he felt every print pressing against his skin. Waiting there, the Sniper died pressed up against him. Spy watches to see him disappear, if he could feel him disappear. Sniper felt lightheaded, cold, disconnected. His legs gave out slowly, in stages as though he had been forced to sit down reluctantly. He found his free hand clutching the Spy's arm weakly. He couldn't remember doing that. The Spy was so close. He would take him with one bite to save himself. Sniper's lips parted. Darkness swept over him like a wave. There was nothing, light, solid ground beneath his feet. Cracked white tiles, the soft swish of a ceiling fan, rockets exploding in the distance. Sniper stood there, blinking. The Spy is going to be the death of me. Sniper thought without noticing the irony. Dread weighed down on him. Without thinking about it, he breathed in deep, searching for even the slightest hint of the Spy's scent. There was none, of course. He wanted to get close to that Spy again. He had to get close to that Spy again. Shit. So that's chapter 2. It took a bit than I thought it would. So there's that. I've been doing this for about half an hour. I can probably get in one more chapter, I'd say, before my voice completely quits on me. So, you know, let's continue. I would say, 29 minutes. So let's go with chapter 3, and then we'll end it up with chapter 3. I was going to do 5, but I didn't realize chapter 2 was that long, so I'm assuming chapter 3 is also that long. Okay. Whoa. The very solid man faded like smoke at his arms. It made the spy's stomach drop for a moment, and he licked his lips. Sniper's things had vanished too, though a splatter of blood remained on Spy's suit and knife. With a smirk, Spy headed down to see if he could find the man again. Before he managed to climb back down up to a good vantage point, he checked his watch quickly. The battle had gone quicker than he expected. They were running out of time. All the excitement had made the time fly by. As soon as he was outside again, Sniper found himself casting around the Spy's scent. It was lost to him among the tang of cordite, metal, and scorched wood. He wanted to set out and find the Spy again as soon as possible. Just thinking about him made the Sniper's neck prickle in a way that would have been unpleasant. Instead, it spoke of anticipation. Sniper shook his head roughly. No. Nope. No. He turned away and stared, heading for a good sniping point where he encountered the Spy was for the best. Once he got down to the main floor, Spy spotted the enemy soldier running past. He followed quietly, having to hurry to keep up with the large man. He hadn't been noticed. The soldier was carrying a large rocket launcher. Suddenly he aimed it for his own feet, leaping in the air and firing. The Spy was right on the man's heels. It was blasted away by the explosion, landing against the wall of a nearby building in a heap. He blinked in confusion as he expected the explosion to turn a turn of events. Mind dazed and funny, he wasn't responding. He just slumped helplessly, lungs making a terrible sound as his chest heaved. Spy didn't want to look down at his legs. He wasn't sure what he'd see if he did. He didn't feel a lot of pain, just shock. Sniper couldn't concentrate, couldn't keep his rifle steady enough to make a single decent job. He tried to blame it on the coffee, the remains of which gulped down all at once in an attempt to distract himself from his current problem. It hadn't worked. Even with his senses heightened, his constant distraction kept him from getting himself killed. Nervous, restless energy raced through Sniper as he paced up and down his nest. It wasn't enough. He had to leave the stifling room. He set off in no particular direction, letting his feet carry him wherever they wanted. Yeah. Sniper wasn't stupid, though. He kept an eye out for danger, which is why his head whipped around as soon as he heard the sound of a nearby rocket. The red soldier soared past like a bright red, demented eagle. Sniper relaxed until his eyes drifted to the spot where the soldier had jumped from. Oh. Oh no. His feet had carried him straight to the Spy. Of course they had. The smell of blood hung heavily in the air. Sniper decided it was the best to turn around and walk the other way. Instead, he found himself approaching. A moment later, he was hovering over the dying Spy, staring down at him. The Spy's legs were shattered. He couldn't move. He couldn't get away. Sniper's hands were clammy, his legs shaking. He couldn't stop staring. There was so much blood. Spy was starting to feel vague and fuzzy. His thoughts were unclear and disorganized, his vision slowly tunneling. His hearing was almost a buzzing sound. His heartbeat pounding. The rocket must have damaged his hearing, he thought. There was a pair of boots in front of him, someone standing in them. It seemed as though it was a long time for him to look up. It was the red Sniper. Unless he was imagining things, perhaps he was in the respawn. This is some sort of dream. Maybe he was really going to die. He tried to speak to the man, but only a few sounds came out. My bad. A few sounds came out, and wasn't sure if they meant anything. Sniper's face had that unsettling look on it again. What did it mean? What was he thinking? Was it just a memory of the look he had earlier? Still, what did it mean? No one had ever looked at him like that before. It wasn't hatred or lust or anger or fear. It was odd. Spy was so helpless, so vulnerable, his brown eyes dull, his lips moving with silent words Sniper couldn't read. Sniper could feel his own elevated heartbeat in response, his own heavy breathing. He knelt down next to the spy and hesitated. Licking his lips nervously, he reached out with one calloused hand to the spy's jaw and tipped his head back. The spy's neck had been covered, but the sniper could clearly see the lines of the thin balaclava. He wondered how far into the spy's shirt it went. How much how much would he have tugged free to expose the column of neck? A shiver of anticipation ran down the sniper's spine. He lunged in closer, changing the angle, and slit the throat of split Spy's throat with a kukri. The smell of fresh blood swamped him. Sniper snapped his eyes shut, clenching his jaw as hard as he could against the fangs threatening to burst through his gums. He wouldn't let himself move. Not an inch. Not an inch. It was fresh, hot blood spattering across his shirt, sticking to his chest. Sniper tried to hold his breath, but couldn't. It didn't matter. He would just stay utterly still for another few seconds. A soft animal whimper escaped from the clenched teeth as he lost the fight. Copper flooded his mouth as his fangs slid into place. His eyes snapped open, pupils blown so wide it took as though no iris remained. The spy body faded. An administrative voice boomed with the speaker announcing their win. Sniper took a great shuddering breath. Thank God, it had been so close. Couldn't have let the spy to do slowly, painfully like that. For one thing, it wouldn't have been professional. For another, the spy wouldn't have faded in time. He'd been attempted before, of course, by dying enemies and tedious before, but not like this. They went beyond temptation and entered some other desperate realm they had no name for. The new spy was going to make life even more difficult than he feared. Spy found himself wobbling on the respawn room floor, catching himself up against the wall, clutching his stomach. Had the sniper really been there? The last thing he remembered was the sniper kneeling next to him, to put it out of his misery, presumably. That was kind of him, at least. Though he had been in so much shock he hadn't really felt like he was suffering. Maybe he couldn't remember it. That was alright. In that expression, Spy's entire vision narrowed to it. Sniper was finally closed his eyes, as if he couldn't bear to watch. It didn't fit what Spy knew of the sniper. Professional mercenaries generally didn't have to close their eyes when they killed a man. There's something odd about the sniper and being a spy he expected to get to the bottom of it. Or there's something odd about the sniper and being a spy he expected to get to the bottom of it, whether he liked the answers he found or not. So that's chapter 3 done with. I'm going to check the time, about 37 minutes. I'd say that's pretty good. I'm going to end it there. I think that's a good stopping point. So I hope you all have relatively enjoyed. I have, and I plan on continuing this in the next part next week when I continue onwards. And I do part 2 where I do chapter 4 to probably 6. So